Hi, I'm going to be training you on the Sharp MX6071 offered by Office Copying Equipment. We're going to go through the copy mode first, then we're going to go into the address book of how to scan emails and so forth. So we're just going to start at the very basics. You have a little house key here to home that will always bring you back to the main screen. All right, we're going to start with copy. This model you can make 9,099 copies. If you don't choose to do that, your CA key clears everything out. Okay? Now we're just going to go down these tabs right here from the top to bottom. Color mode. This is a color copier. You have a black and white start key and you have a color start key. This color mode should always be on auto. You never really have to touch that to pick color. The reason why you don't want to play with that is because if you have it on full color as an example, if you press that color start key, whether your documents have color or not, you're going to get charged for a color copy. So never have to worry about that. It's just for the administrative. On paper select, that's what you have in your paper trays. You have 4 trays on this model. You have an 8.5 by 11, 11 by 17, and 2 more 8.5 by 11. Over on your right hand side here is your bypass tray. That's for anything you don't have the paper size for in the trays or anything that's not plain paper. So if you choose the bypass tray and it's not plain paper, you want to tell it the type and size you're putting in here because it changes the heat and the speed that it pulls the document through. So as an example, you have heavy paper. That's cardstock. You have heavy paper 1, 2, and 3, and 4 on this one. If you do cardstock, probably just wait 1 or 2. It's not real picky. But again, it goes through a little slower, but the toner heats up so you don't have any smudging. You also have labels. Labels go through a little slower, but it cools down the fuser so those labels do not melt. On the second page, arrows always mean you have more than one page. You have envelopes. Envelopes go through a little slower, but again, it opens up the roller so your envelopes don't seal or wrinkle. Now, over here, not everybody can see it, but you have a picture of an envelope. I call it tongue side up. So whatever side you're printing on goes face down. So labels, face down. Letterhead, face down. Now, if I change this to envelopes, think of this as a paper tray. It's going to stay set as envelopes until I change it back to something else. That comes more into play if you are printing from your computer and you choose the bypass tray and you choose labels, but up at the copier it says envelopes. If you ever come up here and it says add paper and you're looking at it and you see the paper in there, it's not because the paper's not in there, it's because you have 2 different choices. So you just need to make sure whatever you choose at the computer and whatever you choose up here is the same. And you don't have to run back to your computer and start over. It just put it in, tell it what you got, and you'll be good to go. All right, we're going to go down to 2-sided copy. It's all pictures and signals. One-sided to one-sided. One-sided original, one-sided copy. Going down, one-sided to two-sided. 2 single-sided copies, or originals, you want a double-sided copy. And so forth. 2-sided to two-sided, one-sided to two-sided. We're going to go to copy ratio. Copy ratio, there's a percent sign there. That's your reduction and your enlargement. Okay? Left is your original. Right is what you want out. So if I have an 11 by 17 original ledger and I want to put it on an 8.5 by 11 copy, just hit the tab. That's your enlargement. This is your reduction. And then you can do things manually as well. But 99% is your standard office paper, so it's right there on a tab. Exposure, that's your lightness and your darkness. Now, you can play with the slide rule up here if you want, but there's tabs here. If you're doing something in these tabs, let the tabs do the adjustment for you versus you making 4 copies to get that driver's license photo, okay? Text and printed photo, anything out of a book, magazine, anything. Map, anything that's got a shady background. Google Maps, Blueprint Maps, a darker original. It cleans up the background, but it keeps your text very crisp. You also have light original, just what it means. It's not an original, it's a copy of a copy of a copy. Or light pencil or light pen. This makes pencil look like ballpoint pen, but doesn't give you the grayish background. So again, 90% of the time you can use a tab versus messing around up here. Okay? All right, we're going to go to staple and sort. That's the last one. This model has a stapler. It has an internal stapler and an external stapler. That staple button, you don't need to push that to use the external stapler. Just put your documents in, face down, just as it shows, and just so you know, the staple's over here. So however you put them in, that's how it will be. But if you're using the internal stapler, it's one staple. Top, left, right, where do you want it? Very simple, all pictures. Two staples, where do you want it? It also has something called a staple-a staple. Staple-a staple, if you read the screen, just slow down and read the screen. It walks you through everything. It says the maximum number of sheets for the staple-a staple is 5. It doesn't use a staple. It crimps it. And staples are not included on your maintenance agreement. Paper and staples are not. So use the staple-a staple because these staples are not inexpensive. If I put 10 documents in, it's just going to pull them through and it's going to say, what do you want to do? You got more than 5. Staple-a staple. It crimps it. And it's pretty strong. So you can take it apart if you want, like if you're going to fax something, you don't have to take the staples out to fax. So staple-a staple, excuse me, is a very nice feature. All right, so we went down the basic tabs here. All right, 9,999 copies, black and white star key, color star key. Clear clears out your number of copies. Clear all clears out all the instructions I put. So now we're going to go into others. There's 3 pages of others. I don't show them all, but I'll leave you a sheet that explains them. But I show the ones that a lot of companies will use. One of them is called N-up. N-up is number of images per page. Some people remember on the older copiers it was called multi-shot. You can put up to 8 originals onto one sheet of paper. That's nice for meeting notes, PowerPoint notes, even mailings if you don't need all the 8.5 by 11. I'm going to do 4. Under border, you can have no border, a solid border, or a serrated border, kind of like your wrapping paper. I'll do solid. So all 4 originals onto one sheet of paper, and that's the solid border. Clear all. Go back in. I will show you something called card shot. Card shot. On, off. Turn it on. Driver's license, business cards, insurance cards. So a little arrow on the top right, or left, excuse me, of the glass. Just put the card there, face down. Whatever side is face down is going to be the image that's on top. Press start, and then just do what the copier tells you to do. It says place your next original, then press start. When done, do read end. Your next original is simply the other side of the card in the exact same spot. And I am done reading. So both sides of the card, one sheet of paper, right in the patient file. All right. I will show you dual page. You have 3 different ways to do books. You have dual page, book copy, and book divide. I don't run into book copy and book divide too much. That's whole books, front to back. But dual page. You just need to make a couple of pages out of a manual or a magazine. Dual page. And notice when I hit dual page, a lot of my icons grayed out. If I can't use a feature combination with something I chose, it just gets rid of them for you, so you're not standing there at the screen going, there's 30 things, I gotta pick something. All right, you have a picture, 2 pictures of a book. You have an 8.5 book and a B5 book. 8.5 is North American paper, B5 is European paper. So just remember, we're 8.5. This is an international piece of equipment, so it may get installed in Belgium, so they'd use B5. So you just put the spine of the book in the middle, no matter how thick the book is. Press start. It's reading both sheets. So page 1, page 2. Now, if I wanted that to be back to back, I would still do dual page, but I would go into two-sided copy and do one-sided to two-sided. So again, has a lot of features, but if you just read the screen, it really tries to walk you through it and not make mistakes. All right, I will show you stamp. You can put a date, a page number, a stamp, arrows mean you have more than one page, a direct text entry, and a watermark onto your copies. You don't need to use them all. If you just want the date, just go to the date tab. But you see you have 6 quadrants here. It's just simply 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Where do you want it to show up? I'm in the date mode. These are just different formats. You can have the date. I'll just do that one. Get used to pushing detail, just so you know what's behind it. If I don't want it to be today's date, I can change the date. Or if you want your late, you can change the date. Also, you can change the color. You can have it on the first page or all pages. All right, I'll go to page number, and I'll put that there. Now we're going over to the tab that says Stamp. I'm going to put it at the top quadrant. You have pre-formatted stamps. You have confidential, priority, for your information, do not copy, urgent. Again, remember the arrows, more than one page. Draft, preliminary, final, important, copy, top secret, please reply. We'll do top secret. Then I'm going to go to my second page, and I'm going to do a text. I'm going to do a direct entry. That's whatever I type is going to show up on my copies. Anytime you see the keyboard on the screen, you can pull up here and use it, or you do have a pull-out keyboard. So, it is beautiful sunny today, so we'll do sunny. And spell it right. Okay, then I'm going to go to watermark. Watermark always goes in the middle. Watermark you can read through. You can't read through a stamp, so it will cover up text. But you have the same predefined ones as I had in stamp. So we did top secret, and we'll do for your information. Under detail, you can change the color, change the angle, change the exposure. So, there's my stamp. Let's see what I mean. It covers text. There's my direct text entry, my watermark, my page number, and my date. Okay? So that is all under others. If I'll show you anything else here. This particular model does have a 3-hole punch. Turn it on. Where do you want it? Okay? You do have a margin shift. A margin shift is going to move the text over, so if you are 3-hole punching something, whether the model has it installed in it or you're going to manually 3-hole punch it, it's just so it doesn't 3-hole punch in the text. And just turn it on. And you can adjust how much it's going to be. Okay? Alright, so we went through the basics, we went through others, we went through 9,999 copies, we went through black and white and color. The last thing we're going to do in copy is what's called preview. Preview is you can preview and or edit your copies. So I'm going to hit preview. It's just going to scan my originals onto the display panel to A, preview, or B, you can edit. So I'm just previewing this way. Okay. All right. Now, if I want to edit, you have a little icon here with a pencil on a piece of paper. So think of that as edit. If I press on that, I can erase things off of my copies. I can delete pages. I can move the pages around before you make 15 sets. I can rotate them, and I can insert blank pages. So if you notice, my 2 is upside down. All you do is tap it and rotate it. It's also out of sequence. So tap it, drop and drag till it turns green, and we're all good. Now if I want to take something off of the copy, so basically no more whiteout, no more little pasty notes, erase specified range. I can do 4 different edits per original. So say I don't want that one on my copies, but I want to keep it on my original. Just go in the bottom left-hand corner. That is your start point. Make a box. You don't have to be perfect though, because I'll show you why. That's my end point. Because anytime you get any kind of box, you can adjust it and move it around. If you like the way it looks, you execute it. If you want to start over, you clear it. All right? Now again, I can do 4 different per original, but when you're all done, you hit the exit key and the end edit key. My 1 is gone. Then my job functions come out. How many do I want? Do I want it stapled? So forth. So, my 1 is gone. All the rest are fine. So that is under Preview and or Edit. Alright? We're going to go home now because I'm going to shift out of copy mode. And we're going to go to the address book. Address book is scanning to email, or scanning to a network folder, or scanning to a disk drive. So, we're going to do Tim said. He has an envelope, so I'm going to be scanning to his email. When I hit that, if you hit the OK key gets you more functionality. If I just did Tim set, he's going to get the attachment as an attachment to an email. It's not going to have a subject line. File name is going to be 11HDD sharp, sharp, sharp. If you hit OK, you can enter a subject line. You can enter a file name, so it's going to show up as an attachment. This is a test. Then it also gives you functionality of what to do with the document that you're scanning. Color mode. They will generally have that default to mono or grayscale, just because color files are larger. But if you need to scan something in full color, just pick full color. Oops, full color. And you do not get charged for any scans. You only get charged for copies that come out on the extra tray. So if you want to do full color, color away. It just makes your file larger. Resolution, 200 dpi. That's your basic text. But if you're doing something more graphical, you can bump it all the way up to 600 if you just want to get more pixels in it. Again, the higher the DPI, the larger your file will be. The copier does not care how big your file is. Your server cares how big your file is. All right, file format. Generally defaults to PDF, but you can change that to TIFF or JPEG. They've also added straight Microsoft, DocX, XLX, and PowerPoint X. Okay. Also, you can specify pages per file. If I put 20 documents up there and I hit start, I'm going to get one attachment that has all 20 documents in it. If I want to get separate attachments, like 20 separate files, specify 1 page per file, 2 pages per file, so forth. Example I use is, I have a customer who's a real estate agent, and all their contracts are 2 pages long, all of them. So at the end of the day, she can put all her contracts in at once, specify 2 pages per file, and then drop them in the prospective customers' folders. It just saves you having to redo it over and over again. All right, original. Telling the copier about the original you're scanning. Again, 2-sided, 1-sided. So if I had 2 single-sided originals, and I want to do a double-sided scan, or I want to break it up. Also, it has scan size and send size. That's reduction and enlargement and scanning. So if I have an 11 by 17 document, and I want to scan it in as 8.5 by 11, you just tell it. Okay. Exposure. That's your lightness and your darkness, just like in copy. Same tabs, same way to do it. In others, you don't have quite as many as in copy, but you do have the mixed-sized original. So if you're doing letter and legal at the same time, just tell it. We'll do it. You have the card shot. You have the multi-crop. Blank page skip. Blank page skip. If I have some single-sided and double-sided originals and I'm scanning them in, if I hit blank page skip, it will skip those blank pages so you don't have a blank file that you have to delete out. Okay. And then job build. This document feeder on this model holds 250 documents. Say I had you scan in 300. If I had job build beforehand, it will keep the job open and you can just keep adding documents. A lot of my legal or my medical does that because I have to scan in medical records. Okay. All right, clear all. So basically, address, that OK key, if you want to use it, gets you much more functionality. Preview and or edit, the same way I did it in copy, you can do it in scanning and you can do it in faxing. I have a lot of people, if you have a fax board built into your copier, they'll edit some information out before they send it, so they don't have to make a copy, white out that social security number, and then fax it over. You can do it right from here. All right? I'm going to go home. You have a tab here, it's called Job Status. All right, that's showing what jobs are in queue and what jobs are having issue. So say I put in the wrong size paper and I sent a print job from my computer. I'm holding everybody else's jobs up. So if you go into Job Status, it will say what's in queue. Now I don't have anything in queue here, but say there was one. I can tap on that and it will say delete job or move up priority. So if you walk up and nothing's coming out, somebody probably did something in Job Status that wasn't working. And then scan to HDD and file retrieve from HDD. HDD stands for hard disk drive. This document, MFP, has a hard disk drive. You can store documents on here and then pull them up and retrieve them. A lot of people will store their office forms on here, so they don't have to get in somebody else's computer they don't have the password to, or it's the old tree on the wall that has, 14 generations of copies. So I'm just going to do it from here. Scan to HDD. Now, if I don't name the file, this is what it looks like. HDD. If I want to rename that and say that's the vacation form, pull out my keyboard. Spell right again. And scan it on there. So now, once it's on there, I want to pull that up and make some copies of it. I'm going to go to HDD File Retrieve. It's always going to be in the main folder. There's my vacation form. Then this pops up. Choose print settings. How many do I want? Do I want it stapled? Do I want it two-sided? Do I want to send it someplace else? Do I want to move it to a different folder? And so forth. So that is HDD File Retrieve. Alright? Now we're going to go through a little copy maintenance. Alright? First we're going to show misfeeds. They're not called jams, they're called misfeeds. It's much more gentle. And it walks you through it. It's very simple. Okay, anytime something not good is going on with the copier, the red light's blinking, please don't walk away from it. Leave it for the next person. This is indicating I have a misfeed. These are all the different areas that a piece of paper could get misfed into this machine. Don't try and go on a search and destroy mission and try and figure out where every door is. Just check how to remove misfeed. It gives you a nice big picture of where that misfeed is and what door to open and what door to take out. Now, if for some reason you had more than one misfeed, because some of these models get rather large, and it will walk you through each one. It's not going to just have red arrows going everywhere and you're freaking out. It will say next. It will say next. So, on the right-hand side here, you have 3 areas to check for misfeed. The red arrow could be pointing to this door, and on the screen, it will be open it up. You have a green lever on your left and a green wheel on your right, and it's just going to be having you work that piece of paper out. It could be pointing to that, or it could be pointing to that. That's just if it gets caught coming out of one of your paper trays. And again, everything is shown on the screen. All right? Now we're going to move over. It made it farther through on the document feeder, and it's not telling you to open up this door. It's going to have you open up the glass, and it will be telling you to turn that wheel, work that piece of paper out, and you have a nice quick release thing too if it got stuck in there. Okay? This is your glass. Microcloth. No paper towels, no napkins will tend to scratch the glass. This clear bar and that white bar here, those are your sensors. That's reading your original either for a copy job or a scan job. If you ever start getting linear lines on your copy and you know your original is clean, there's generally something on here. It just needs to be wiped off. The screen can be wiped off with handy wipes, wet wipes, anything like that. It's hermetically sealed. All right, we're going to go back to this staple button here. Your stapler is inside here. To release the stapler, or a misfit in here. Again, it's just got all arrows. There's your staple cartridge. Notice it's rotated in because they try to make these compact. To release your staple cartridge, that's where this button comes through. So you're just going to push it down so it goes off and you hear it click. Open up this door again. Notice how it rotated out. Then you just take it out. Office Company Equipment sends you the staple cartridges to clear. Don't throw this away. Green is good. So when you get your staples, and it's the first time you do it, note to self. There's an arrow here. Take the empty one out. Set it right there. Get your new one. Then you know which way it goes in. So you're not putting them backwards and getting all frustrated. Okay. To change the paper size in your paper trays, you will open up the paper tray drawer and there'll be green tabs that you squeeze and either expand or reduce up to 11 by 17 to letter. You can also, once you put the paper in and the size is correct, the display panel will read the size of the paper you have in the paper trays. There is bars with the colors. When it is full, it will be all the way over to the right. You can also push the total count icon at the bottom of the display panel, and that will give you the total count of copies made. It will also give you percentage of the toner levels. When you get down to about 25%, that's when you should start thinking about ordering toner. Here is where your toner cartridges are. Okay? When you're starting to get low on toner, your screen again is going to tell you everything. It will say toner low, prepare magenta. It will also say, please do not remove until requested, because these toner cartridges do not come out until they're completely empty. Older models you're used to, you can slide them in and out. These, they want it to be bone dry, because we are finding that even though you send them back to recycle, there's toner in there. When it's completely empty, it will say change magenta. And when I open this door, the magenta will pop out a little bit, and you slide it in and out like you're used to. All right? Anytime some copiers are made, some toner goes into the toner waste container. You'll get a notification again, toner waste almost full. That could be on there for a while, depends how much traffic this copier gets. But you don't want to ignore it and let it get completely full, because if it gets completely full, it shuts the copier down. It's like, I have given you 3 months of saying, I cannot put any more toner in this toner waste container. There's 2 green tabs here. Just slides out. Put in the new one, send this back. Now, if you purchase a color copier, you can get a free replacement. And what I have people do is just rotate them. So even if it says toner waste almost full, take this one out, put it in the box face up, so the techs don't get a mess when they open it up, and then put it to the side of the copier. Whenever a tech comes out to do anything, maintenance or service, they vacuum these out. But if you want a spare one, just go ahead and do that. For service and supplies, this is the number to call for service and supplies. All you need to do is give them your 4-digit ID. You don't need to know what kind of staples you take, what kind of toner, what kind of model, where it lives. It's all on our computer. And you will get a live person answering the phone. I always point that out. So you don't have to press 1 for color copiers, 2 for black and white copiers. Just give them your 4-digit ID. Also, your hard on and off switch is right here. If you notice this moon here, it goes to sleep. You don't have to turn it off at night. It's very energy efficient, and then you're not starting from a cold wake up. But it's kind of like your computer or any piece of electronics. If all else fails, they'll say, did you turn the copier on and off? Some models have what's called a motion sensor. That can be turned on or turned off. A motion sensor will automatically go to sleep, and then when I walk up to the copier, that screen will pop up. Some people like it, some people don't. All depends on what the traffic pattern is of where that copier is. I had people who had office dogs they forgot about. It's like, so every time dogs walk by, the copier go on and off. All right, so this is the training for the Sharp MX6071. I hope it was very helpful to you, and always know that you can contact the office if you have further questions.